Our next guest is Kayleigh McEnany. She is the RNC national spokesperson. She is a former CNN contributor and is an extraordinary individual and voice for the GOP. It's just been my honor and pleasure to work with Kayleigh. Kayleigh, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Martha?
Thank you so much for joining us here on the John Frederick Show. I run into you a lot, and I'm a huge fan of yours. And I wanted to bring you on the show to talk about so many things, but in particular, President Trump's dedication to looking at our criminal justice reform. And in fact, he just had a gathering at the White House recently, right?
That's right. He did. You know, he's done so much good all across the country on a number of issues, and our criminal justice system is extremely important on that front, and past reform alongside Van Jones. So a really kind of bipartisan moment for the parties, and this president's dedicated strong borders, being tough on crime, but nevertheless being compassionate in cases where it's a minor offense, and looking towards recidivism and reducing our recidivism rate in our country.
Well, and when you think about it, here we have a president that has done more in his first 500 days, unprecedented what he's delivered in our first 500 days, and he is the first president to really tackle this issue.
That's right. He is. You know, Democrats have been talking about this for quite some time, and this is the first president to do it. And it was a bit of a frustrating moment, I think, when you looked at the vote count and the way it shook out, because you had very few civil rights groups endorsing this. In fact, Van Jones' group was the only one. And despite the fact that this is something they had been calling for a very, very long time, because it had the name Trump in it, they were opposed to it or would not go out and give it a ringing endorsement. I think that's unfortunate. We've seen the same kind of thing with infrastructure, with the DACA fix. The president puts forward a very reasonable solution, and Democrats don't want the very thing they've been calling for a long time, because President Trump is going to be the one at the top getting a lot of the credit. But good for him for shepherding this through and being the first president really to tackle prison reform and putting forth this compassionate proposal that really reduces and helps our prisoners get out and be rehabilitated and get into society.
Well, absolutely. And as you said, the Democrats have been talking the good talk about this for far too long, but have never taken action to really make it come to fruition. And,
that's right.
And, it's a lot of talk and no action to get the job done. And our President Trump is, time and time again, he's proven that he keeps his promises. And in fact, I'm just looking here. It looks like the Rasmussen report that just came out, actually I think it was yesterday, the approval rating among black voters right now is 29%. Last year at this time it was 15%. We are seeing unprecedented job opportunities unfold all across our great nation for women. Black and Hispanic unemployment, it's at an all-time low. And this is all because of our president. And yet the left refuses to acknowledge these great achievements that our president is making.
That's right. You're seeing, you're right to make that connection between kind of the economic and the approval ratings among certain and cohorts. You look, and the president, as from 15% among African American voters last year to 29% this year. Alongside that, we've seen historic black unemployment numbers. So the lowest unemployment in the history of the country for African American individuals. And alongside that, you see rising poll numbers for the president. Likewise, on the Hispanic front, you see the Hispanic unemployment at a 45-year low. Actually, it's a historic low, too. It's women who are at a 45-year low, but historic low there. And then you see the president make 10-point gains among Hispanic voters. So there's this connection between economic realities and the idea that you have more opportunity, and then rising poll numbers for the president. And it just shows that American voters are smart. They're not listening to what the media has to say and their hyperbolic, extreme rhetoric. They're looking at their personal lives and seeing that it's improving under this president.
Well, absolutely. We are 96 days out from midterm election day. And we are going to see at the polls American people coming out. And so often Americans vote with their pocketbooks. And we are seeing growth, more money in paychecks, more jobs. And we're going to see this at the polls, voting for our GOP, really voting for our president.
Exactly, and that's what we have to see. We cannot lose in November. Historically, the party sitting in the White House tends to lose seats, and we've got to defy history, as Chairwoman McDaniel always says, and that means Republican voters turning out. I mean, the president's voters among Republicans certainly defy history. There are within his own party, 88% approval rating, 90% in another poll within his party. That has to translate into going to the polls, submitting an absentee ballot, going the day of, whatever you have to do to get your vote in, you've got to do it.
Absolutely. Kayleigh, thank you so much for joining us on our show. We hope to have you back again, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Martha, and happy Friday.
Thank you.